When we came up with this project about doing a Love Supreme, we thought we would not only feature the music of John Coltrane himself, but also feature music of other jazz greats that truly influenced John Coltrane, or he influenced later on. And of course, three of these people are Thelonious Monk, Miles Davis, and Stanley Clarke. And Thelonious Monk, of course, was the first kind of jazz musician on the very upper scale of jazz greats that John Coltrane worked with. And of course, we just loved his beautiful ballad Around Midnight, so it was kind of a no-brainer to arrange that piece and make it work for the string quartet. And of course, Miles Davis, it's very hard not to mention Miles when you mention Coltrane, and vice versa, because they were playing together for many years, and they made that groundbreaking album in '59 called Kind of Blue, where So What was one of the pieces on that. And So What is a great piece that they played together and really characterizes the 50s going into the 60s, and probably the best-selling album of all times. And Stanley Clarke actually bears special meaning to me because he's an amazing bass player and is a guy I had the opportunity to work with for the past 3 years, still does sometimes. And the Song for John was one of the first pieces I got to play with him, and of course it's dedicated to John Coltrane just because Stanley loves Coltrane's music so much and his intensity in the music.
In a lot of ways it hasn't changed us a bit. We've been together 21 years and we've been doing what we've been doing, the idea from the very beginning to improvise on these classical instruments and play this great jazz music. So in some ways, really we're just doing what we've always done, but it certainly opens doors to other venues, other opportunities. I know, for instance, we're playing at the Aspen Music Festival, this great classical music festival that we kind of busted after playing, and winning the Grammy helped with that. For the band, it's made us very conscious of the fact that we sort of feel like we've got to live up to this great thing. I think we're working harder and playing really well.
I think if you're a young musician and you want to get into music and you want to make a career out of music, I think a key word here is to be versatile, because being versatile means being able to play a lot of different styles and being able to do a lot of different things as a musician. I think specifically Turtle Island is a great example of that, because Turtle Island, we were all trained classically from we were small kids, and when we were about 10 or 11, we all got attracted to the dark side, so to speak, and playing jazz and playing all these different styles. And but we're equally very great classical players that just knows how to play world music, film music, and jazz on top of that. And that's really helped us make a career out of this. And I would say to young people, make sure that you know as many different things. And also, it seems like for a lot of young musicians, they put a lot of emphasis on practicing. And that's great, but also I think it's very important to play with other people, both even though you're playing classical or jazz or whatever style you're doing. It's very important to stay open and never say no to playing opportunities, and never say no to playing gigs. And sometimes it may not be the gig that suits you most, but it's gonna maybe lead you to some other gig that is just what you wanted. So stay open and stay open-minded and keep being versatile. Sure.
Yes, one of the main differences between our group and a lot of string quartets which might be playing jazz or related projects is the fact that we're all jazz musicians. Much like the members of, let's say, the John Coltrane Quartet, we don't play the instruments in that band. We're playing two violins, viola, and cello, but we all have background as jazz players in different kinds of ensembles, and we all function in the same way. We improvise, we compose the music that we play. And a large part of it also is in the inflection that we're able to use in order to put it across in an authentic way. Classical musicians have a certain way of playing, which is different from jazz musicians. I mean, the distinction is not etched in stone, but it's a little bit like the difference between a Shakespearean actor and you know, an American or Hollywood actor or something. There is crossover and there's common ground there, but it's really important for Coltrane's music, or any jazz in particular, to that we're able to swing and able to inflect the way, let's say, Billie Holiday would sing versus Pavarotti. We're really happy to have a relationship with Sibelius Software in general, but for this recording in particular, we decided to pay tribute to John Coltrane by co-composing a tune together amongst the four of us. And the easiest way we found to do that is to all use the same composing software. We can easily pass to the left. One guy can start and make a little sketch and say, I don't know, maybe this has got some potential, and then just email the file to the next guy. And it's really easy to work that way. You can save different versions. You can make changes and go back if you have a disagreement or whatever. So we had a lot of fun actually passing around the same file around and around. So all four of us had a chance to work on the same thing, and then when we're all done, we have a publishable version of the tune, which, you know, could come in handy sometime if somebody likes it enough to try to play it. In planning the album, talking with Telarc, we decided that we wanted to sort of evoke a vintage look. We wanted to pay tribute to John Coltrane and to the sort of glory days of, you know, mid-60s jazz in as many ways as possible. And part of that is in the look of the album and the look of the musicians, and in any way possible we're trying to distinguish ourselves from a typical string quartet. And so we decided to try to evoke this, to try to really nail that mid-60s jazz musician sort of vibe. So we all went down to the Haight-Ashbury and scoured all the vintage clothing stores. There's probably about 12 or 15 of them on that street. And it was really fun actually, because we went down there and talked to some of the people in the shops and said, we're a string quartet and we're making an album called A Love Supreme. And they all went, cool, well, here's what you need. And they took us right to the 60s jackets and the skinny ties, and we had a lot of fun. And it was interesting being down there also because, you know, we know from the history that that area, that neighborhood, Haight-Ashbury, was one of the first places that this album and that John Coltrane really took a foothold. When this album originally came out, it immediately resonated with what was happening in Haight-Ashbury. Their heyday was concurrent with John Coltrane's heyday, so it was kind of cool.